The Hasselblad CFV 100C is a very unique camera, but is it worth it? Well, I've been shooting with it for the past few days to answer that very question. So the marquee spec is the 100 megapixel medium format sensor that's capable of shooting 16-bit raw images with 15 stops of dynamic range. It essentially has the same features and same specs as the Hasselblad X2D, but without the in-body stabilization. But what separates this from the X2D is its modular design. You can actually detach this digital back here, which has the sensor, and attach it to old V-mount Hasselblad film cameras. So if you have a C500 as a really expensive shelf ornament right now, you can dust him off and attach the digital back and take advantage of some of those vintage lenses you have. And I know this might seem like quite an expensive investment if you're shooting on one of these, but think about how much money you're spending on film and developing that film over time. And the quality on this is amazing. So really, it's a great investment. I really like the user interface of the CFV 100C. It's really intuitive and very minimalistic, so it's really easy to use straight out of the box once you turn it on. There's not too much going on in the menu screens. There's a few physical buttons that help you navigate through the menu system pretty easily. And if you have the grip that comes with the 907X body, you've got 4 buttons here that you can customize up to 35 different functions. And you have these dials here so you can control shutter speed and aperture. So it's really intuitive if you've got these out in the field and you want to change your settings pretty quickly, capture that shot. This is a great little accessory to have. More wins for this camera include the 1 terabyte of internal storage. You have phase detection autofocus that works extremely well, especially when capturing on people's faces. And you have the famous Hasselblad color science to get those really nice images. It's also surprisingly compact for a medium format camera. Yeah, it is quite deep, but I just had this in my camera sling, and just walking around Manhattan being very inconspicuous, I was able to go places and not draw too much attention. Once you get it out, if there's a fellow camera nerd out there, they might come over and ask a few questions because it is a very unique looking camera, but then you can always just explain to them why you are so much better than them for having a 100 megapixel camera. All kidding aside though, it truly is a unique experience shooting with this Hasselblad camera. It really makes you want to slow down and really craft your frame and think about your shots rather than just putting it in continuous and spraying and praying. It almost seems criminal to shoot this in continuous mode. And you might want to hold off from doing that because each RAW file is 215 to 220 megabytes. So you're going to fill that 1 terabyte storage up pretty quickly if you're out there just blasting continuous frames. In terms of looks, I said this in my reel, this is by far the cleanest camera that Hasselblad has released in a while. It is a 10 out of 10. The Swedes really know what they're doing when they're making meatballs and handcrafting cameras. Even though I've never had an IKEA meatball, but people like them. Is this camera for everyone? Absolutely not. I don't think this camera is for me, for example. But if you're someone that's in a studio or you're just a high-end street photographer and you want to do shots that are going to be on big billboards and you want to blow up to massive prints, then this is a fantastic option. With the versatility of being able to take the digital back off and put it on old Hasselblad film cameras, it makes so many more possibilities than, say, an X2D would. Actually, this might be for me. I've just convinced myself. I want this camera so much. Especially when you pair this with the Hasselblad X-mount glass, you really won't go back once you've shot on this. So I've been shooting with the Hasselblad XCD 65mm, which is a 50mm full frame equivalent, so it's a really versatile lens. And shooting portraits, shooting in the street, really this combination, the images that I've got have been incredible. And even in situations where the light hasn't been that good, maybe in midday or not quite golden hour, having the 16-bit raw images gives you so much more depth, so it looks like you're shooting in golden hour, and there's so much more forgiveness from the camera that you can really create fantastic results in not the best situations. I know people say gear doesn't matter, but if you're shooting on one of these, it really does. I was gonna swear then, but another great thing about this is having 100 megapixels really is fantastic when you need to crop in your images. I was in Washington Square Park and there was a bird sat next to me and I kind of wanted to get a picture of him, but if I got any closer, the bird would have flown away. So even though it was quite a wide shot, I was able to crop in post and it looked like I was shooting on a super telephoto lens because the quality is still there, even if you crop in really aggressively. So those were my thoughts on the Hasselblad CFV 100C. This is a truly amazing camera. It's certainly my favorite camera that's come out in 2024. It's still January, so I can get away with saying that. But what would you shoot with this if you got your hands on it? And if you've been shooting on this 50C version of this, what are your thoughts on that and what are your experience? I'd love to hear them in the comments. But in the meantime, I've been Matt and thanks for watching.